Hi, hello Ulrike, hello everybody. Welcome to the Q&A of Paris Calligrammes, this wonderful new film of Ulrike Ottinger, our wonderful filmmaker. Ulrike, thank you so much for sharing this time with us. You are a revered director, a photographer, and artist with a list of extraordinary films that a lot of people know and are very dear for them, like Joan of Arc of Mongolia, Freak Orlando, Madame X, I don't know, Prater, Southern Passage. You just came out from the Berlinale with the wonderful award of the Camera Award. Congratulations!
Thank you.
And I think for me, this film was more than autobiography or a historical film. I thought it was like a poetic cinematic version of a DNA analysis because it brings us to understand a lot more about you and your work and the things that you pay homage to and the were influences you for you in your very formative years of your 20s. So tell us a little bit about how did you went about conceiving the structure of this film in these beautiful episodic chapters, and were you thinking about the period from today's perspective? Were you recalling memories? Do you have diaries from the day? Or was it like a combination of research and memories? Tell us a little bit about the process to construct this epic film.
Mhm. Yeah, you know, uh, if you would have asked me 10 years before if I would doing this kind of film, I would have said no, never. And then with the time, I always told my friends, when we had dinner or something about Paris in this time, and everybody said to me, you have to do a film about it. This is so fascinating. And then finally, when you get older, so you think about this time and what made you think the way and work the way you are doing it. And so it's a reflection. First, it is a reflection about this time. It is memory, of course, but then you bring it also in the you are still working with these memories. This is very important. And you bring it together with also with the present. It gives you a help in interpretation also of the present and in comparing past and present and to see the differences. This is a very interesting research.
I've heard you mention that you almost watched 400 films at the Cinematheque.
Yeah, you know, in a way, to do this film was a nightmare because uh, you had so many possibilities, and at the same time you were researching and see all these films, and then you found so many fantastic scenes, and then to bring it together to tell your story, yeah, and to give a feeling of this time in Paris. And this was unbelievable. It was also for the logistics, yeah, it was very complicated. And this work at the montage table was something unbelievable, yeah. And you had to sit for 12 or 14 hours, and this for 2 years. And then, when you had a combination of montage, and then you see, but I saw something who was so interesting, who could fit very well here. Yeah, it's like a mosaic. And then I looked at it, and then I found in this film other pieces, yeah, and said, oh, I could. And then I changed everything. Yeah, so, and it went on and on. And one day I said, so now I have to stop. It has to be like this, yeah. But it was a very complex process, yeah. When I'm doing a film, and I'm doing the shooting by myself. And I have a very good memory of images. So when you do it by yourself, filming by yourself, you know everything exactly. You know, it's a second take. There is this part is better, and there is the beginning better, and here is this better. And it's much easier, yeah, because you have it in your head. But there, you had to do this whole house, you know, from little pieces, yeah, around, yeah. It
And
was very complicated and fascinating. For myself, I learned a lot also about montage, yeah, what is possible, what is not possible. You know, of course, in my age, you have a lot of experiences, but you always learn new things, yeah, by doing this film.
some of the things that you found, I thought it was like magic. Of course, your film is very shamanistic and magical in many instances, but like you're talking about your experience of the jazz clubs at night in Paris, the music, the cabaret, and how you will go together to have a walk through the streets of the markets that are now like the vendors are tired and closing down, and then they all go to have a drink at a cafe where the drinks were very cheap and people sing all night, and there you have the most beautiful images of that very memory. I was
Yeah.
like, how is this even possible? So
Mm.
it's magnificent, the things that you have found in these archives,
Mm.
that match your own memories, and whether one was before or the other one was before, it doesn't matter because
Of
it's
course, you know, I didn't see just one archive. I saw a lot of archives, also private archives, the big archives of INA, who has a lot, but also the Bibliothèque Nationale, and who has not only books, but also films in our days. And then a lot of private archives, small archives, theater archives, newspaper archives. And it was an enormous work. You know, I have folders and folders and folders, you know, in my home. And it's so interesting, so I cannot give it away. Maybe one day I give it at an archive, yeah, again. It's unbelievable what I brought together. And just to give you an example, only the Algerian part about the war in Algeria. My first montage was 3 hours, and it wasn't complex enough. Yeah, so you see what you are fighting. Yeah, you are really fighting with the material, with the theme, and to be really serious about this kind of matters. Yeah. But then I decided to get concentrated on my friends and their experiences in the Algerian war, because all the French young men had to go there. So, and I think it was a good decision. And to get then, I got the complexity then in another form. I had also a big exhibit at the House of the Cultures of the World. It's a wonderful museum and a place where in Berlin a lot of discussion are taking place. It's a wonderful exhibition house and a place, really a place of discussions, discourse, and so. And I made an exhibit around, and with 3 rooms and a kind of stylized streets of Paris, very stylized. And you could go into 3 rooms. This meant 3 themes, yeah. And so I had, by example, a wonderful a little discussion from Jean Rouch, the ethnographer and filmmaker, and he talked about the reception of the Tarzan films in African countries, yeah, and this was very interesting, yeah. So I made a lot of things I liked very much, and I didn't have in the film, yeah. And for an exhibit, you have to work completely different, yeah. So this would not have been perfect in the film, then the film would have 12 hours, yeah. So I made this kind of things. And I also had the possibility in this house to invite films, to make a program of films. So especially for Algeria, I had 2 films, and I showed the William Klein film, Mr. Freedom, which I like very, very much. And it has an enormous actuality, yeah, with this kind of, yeah, with this comic figure, yeah. And it let you think at some protagonists in our present, yeah. So this was really fantastic, yeah.
One of my favorite things is how you, even if it's a love letter to all of your friends and mentors and the incredible, effervescence of the culture at the time, you, this is a very political film, and you choose, and the theme of colonialism is really horizontal throughout the whole film. And I think one of my favorite scenes and one of the most powerful scenes I've seen is that when you are in the oldest auction house in Paris, where you used to buy photos and books when you were young, you said, and then you bring us to this amazing shot of this escalator where there is people coming down with like African objects and coming up with like, other objects. And then you are seeing, and you use these words, you talk about buyers and sellers being looters and confiscators. And you see in that one very simple shot is the history of the exploitation and robbery of these colonies, and how that's still part of the market today. And
yeah,
that's
exactly.
incredible. Like, tell us a little bit about I know how important it is, the Algerian experience, but there is so much more in this film that bring us to everything that's happening today.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating also to, I always try to tell the story by this kind of images, yeah, and this kind of places also, what you have, especially in the auction house, yeah. And the interesting thing is that I think this is also in the text. The interesting thing is really that the people who is selling it, yeah, and who is buying, these are not only French people. This is also sometimes people from Cambodia or from Vietnam who are buying it back, and others are also selling it. Yeah, so it's our colonial history is a long history, and it's not so simple, yeah, as we sometimes think. Yeah, it is much more complicated. And if you show this kind of images and places, you understand very well what's going on. Yeah, it seems to be quite simple, but it is unbelievably complex.
And another thing that I think also you take from the experiences of Jan Roos in the Museum de l'Homme, and it's how you bring all of these incredible archival images alive with sound. And your work of sound in this film is magnificent, and you know, and it brings us to this like beautiful history of Foley in cinema, and your memories, like when you talk about living in that little studio, you know, on the top, and that you didn't need a watch because the sounds of the streets will tell you what time of the day it was, and then you bring us to those memories. It's just so beautiful. So maybe can you tell us a little bit about your approach with working with sound for this film?
Yeah, I really adore to work with sound because there's something magic between images and sound and music, I think. So I myself have a big archive, sound archive, and I have an enormous collection of records, even very old records. This old version we call shellac, the first ones who break, yeah, what we had in the 20s, 30s until the early 40s. And then, of course, other records. And at that time, I always went into the archives and in museums, also in ethnological museums like Dahlem in Berlin. I went in New York to the State Library or to YIVO to collect music. And at that time, you had really to do the records directly. Yeah. So I have all this music still, and one day I changed it on a more modern medium. And in earlier times, I went with my Naga, what you have recorded the sound in earlier times with your 35 millimeter films. And then I transferred it, of course, later. Yeah, so mostly of these things, I still have them. Yeah. And I like to work and to come. You know, my very first films, yeah, Laukon and Sons, and until Madam X, the first, I had no original sound. I only made the sound afterwards, yeah. And of course not the realistic sound. Yeah, I made music and songs and yeah, a cry from a disco thing, and then some stick music from the Mato Grosso, and then you know I made combinations and montages. I like this very much to do.
And some of the things that we find, and I'm so glad that you're sitting where you're sitting with your beautiful artwork behind you, you also bring us to some of these mysteries about artists that we never know. You tell us a little bit about like the fact that you were painting like in small pieces to build a larger narrative, like in cartoons, because of your studio room was so small that you couldn't have a big canvas, so you had to paint in little pieces and then go to the street and assemble it. And that's
Yeah.
how you learn like narrative storytelling in a way. And and then you go from that to this film, which in the edit it feels very much like it was built in little mosaics, like you said, and then just
Yeah.
you know put it together. um,
Yeah.
you were talking about before, like making a decision of where this, you know, like this is it, I have to leave it here, because this, I feel like this is a film that could have lasted you know, so many hours. It could have been like an ongoing project. um,
This is true. Yeah, yeah. But you know, it's interesting what you mentioned. At that time, there was a movement who was called Figuration Narrative. figuration, narrative figuration, yeah, in the painting, yeah. And this is what it is, of course, yeah. It's not so direct, of course, but it's not a simple narration, yeah. It has maybe a lot of quotes, also personal things, so can be interpreted in different ways. Yeah, but so.
So when you received the camera award at the Berlinale, in your speech, you said something along the lines of, I hope that this award allowed me to make one more of my big feature films. Can you, to end, because we're out of time, unfortunately, can you tell us a little bit about what does that look like? Do you already have an idea for a new big Ulrike Ottinger film, and what you're working on next?
Yeah, I, it's not only an idea; it's a complete screenplay. Yeah, who is like a Bible, big and heavy, with all my material in. Because my screenplays are always collection from a lot of things. It's a film, I called it Diamond Dance, and this is a business world from the diamond world. And I'm tried really hard, 12 years to do this film in New York. Yeah. And it was just not possible to get the money together. And I was extremely sad about it. And if I always hope that I can do it. If I would do it today, I would maybe do it as a historical film placed in the early 80s. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe I can do it. I hope. Yeah. But this was a wonderful project. It is telling all the Jewish wanderings through two twin diamonds who are traveling to the whole history and are coming together in New York of the 80s again. Yeah, and you have all the history of the families and of the artworks. They were used for wonderful artworks from the throne of King Solomon through the Russian Revolution until New York on the. This is a film, he has everything what a film needs. I had the greatest, it was not a problem of the actors and actresses. I had the greatest actresses and actors between New York and Hollywood, and everybody wanted to do it. Yeah. And were really a famous people I had together, but I never got the money together. I don't know. It's a pity. I really want to do it. Yeah, this is a big wish.
So let's hope that all the audience members that just fell in love with Paris Calligrammes go to your website and support you so you can make your new film. And
yeah.
It's been a wonderful pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much, Ulrike.
Yeah, for me too, to see you again and to talk with you again. Yeah. Oh, take care.
Take care. Thank you, Ulrike.